My name is Doug Bender, and I am second.
Doug Bender is a writer for I Am Second, a media organization that tells real stories of real people who surrendered their lives to God in order to fully live second.
Negative thoughts I had in my head, I thought everybody had that about me.
Doug himself has shared his story a couple of times of how he found God working in his life. His new book, I Choose Peace, tells the testimonies of a number of people who found complete wholeness when choosing to be second. Please welcome Doug Bender.
Good morning, Doug. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I have to say that I've really enjoyed so much the I Am Second videos. It's so great, and you've put this book together where you finally kind of taken some of, I think, your favorite stories, put them together in this book. First, tell me, what was your favorite I Am Second video that you've done?
Oh man, well that's kind of like asking what's my favorite child. I love them all, but perhaps for different reasons. One that I've always loved and we've been telling for over a decade now is Brian Head Welch from Korn. Such a dramatic transformation from someone whose life was really just a disaster to someone who has fallen in love with Jesus and is now spending his life trying to tell people about him. And we've not told his story a couple different times now as the chapters have unfolded, but his has been one that we were able to come back to and kind of give an update from the first book in this latest book of just what Jesus has been doing in his life. It's been great being a part of his story and helping to tell it.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing that. We've had him here as well, and he just has such a heart for God. And there is something about someone who comes out of that world to be totally rescued and transformed. So compelling to hear that. So in your book, or in your series, I Am Second, a lot of people may not have seen them before. Why did you choose the name I Am Second?
Well, it's a combination of two things. The first is this idea that in our culture, winning and being first and number one, this is what most people are aiming for. Even if we're not saying it out loud, it's how we tend to live our lives. And so we wanted to challenge that. And we also wanted to do it in such a way where it made people curious. And so when you come across something that says, I am second, it just strikes you as something so strange, so countercultural that you're like, what is that? And that's really that feeling we wanted to both challenge, but also raise curiosity. And as they explore these stories and get to know these folks, they realize that they're second because Jesus has just radically changed their lives. Mm-hmm. And that's the story we want to tell. And it really hits at kind of the core of where a lot of these folks start at.
It's during this COVID-19 thing, I'm sure people are so almost sick of hearing it, and yet, when I get up in the morning, it's the first thing I look to see on the news. Has anything changed? Is there any, are we closer to getting, out of this quarantine? Are we closer to a vaccine? All these questions that people ask all the time. I really feel like your book is a great book to read during this time, but I bet you feel that way too. How does your book kind of speak to what we're all sort of going through in this global crisis? How does it apply?
It's interesting with books. They're from concept to in the bookshelf. It's multiple years. So the concept of this book started many years before this. And of course, we had no idea what was going to happen. So it's been a real godsend to see how God has brought a book addressing anxiety, stress, worry, these things that at the forefront of so many of our lives right now. He brought this book right at this time. He wasn't surprised by what's happening right now with COVID-19, even if the rest of us are. And I feel it's been a real godsend to be able to have a book to address people's concerns about, are you worried about your health? You're worried about your finances? Are you concerned about loved ones? And this is really a book that's helping people address those concerns, those worries, in addition to everything else we're already dealing with. So a book that says, I choose peace, in a time where most people are struggling to hold on to peace. I think this is just a very timely book.
I love the title, I Choose Peace. I love the cover design. You guys did a great job, and I love the book. And It is interesting, isn't it? Like, it's not a peaceful time, and yet it's like everybody is home. It's all through, online stuff. People are, at home constantly. You'd think it'd be a really peaceful, relaxed time, but I don't know very many people that feel relaxed. Most people are feeling pretty anxious. Do you have any words of advice for those of us who are at home? I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen over the next couple months. Nobody knows what's going to happen economically in their business. They don't know about their health. Some people may know someone who's sick. Others may be frustrated with the government. What kind of advice do you have for us? You're a pastor too. I mean, what do you think about this pastorally?
I can't help but think of one of the stories that's in this book from a guy named Austin Carlisle. He was in a band called Of Mice and Men. We got his interview just as so much of his life was falling apart, actually. He came to interview, and at that point in his life, he said, I have lost everything. His health wasn't great. Finances weren't great. And he said, right now, I own 2 suitcases of stuff. That's it. That's all I own. He came into the interview with nothing. And he said, you know what? I have never been happier. I've never felt more peace. And that realization, this is a man, we didn't plan the interview for that moment, but it happened. And he came in here just struggling in so many ways, but having peace. So I think the biggest piece of advice I can share with folks is let this be a time to have God kind of winnow out those distractions in our life. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he lets us do that winnowing ourselves, and sometimes he does it. And I feel like this is a time where he is kind of thinning out some of those distractions, some of those stressors in our life, so that we can take some time to focus on him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that story, but others as well, has spoken to me. And I think it really applies to this environment.
Well, Doug Bender, thank you so much for those words of wisdom, and I'm so sorry we couldn't meet in person. You're in Pittsburgh, and we're here in Orange County, California. How is Pittsburgh doing, by the way, with all of this as a city?
Not too bad. We have some issues, of course, but we're not one of those harder hit areas yet. So we're praying that continues, and we can see things go back to normal.
Well, I love your book. I love the videos that you've done. You've made such a huge difference for the kingdom of God. The book is called I Choose Peace from Doug Bender. It's an awesome book, and I really want to recommend you get it, those of you who are watching at home. Doug, thank you so much. Bless you. Stay safe, and thank you for joining us today. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.